2023, a year that will simply never be forgotten.
The scene is set for the first Premier League heavyweight clash of 2023. Arsenal's draw with Newcastle has made the gap 8.
A proper title race here, and it's going to be a great second half to the season.
5 points for the gap. Arsenal with the game in hand, but the giant is stirring just behind them.
Jack Grealish scores! If you're going for the king, you best not miss.
It's Shaw who has formed a 5-star performance from the striker.
8-1 on aggregate. Are they on their way to their first ever Champions League triumph?
It's another hat-trick, his 6th of the season, come through to the semi-finals of the Emirates FA Cup.
A statement victory, level on points at the top of the table.
Players are full of confidence. Know the system, no matter who they play, and it's all about timing.
Bruyne gets his 100th Premier League assist.
This is where the Champions League gets really special.
It's a goal to take you from the Champions League.
And that's one of Manchester City's great nights in Europe.
Another trip to Wembley. And Mahrez gets his hat-trick.
Bring on Arsenal, bring on the title race to come. Shot unleashed!
3 seasons in a row! What an achievement! This club knows nothing other than winning. The most prolific season in Premier League history.
The treble's on.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
So here we go then, part 2 of the Dream semi-final.
Manchester City lead Real Madrid.
They haven't had many greater nights in European competition.
City are in the final of the UEFA Champions League.
Treble still to play for. 2 finals to come for this City side.
Manchester City, double winners, now 1 more.
The Blues are on the cusp of winning the treble. Akanji in the gap, good ball. Bernardo Silva round the back. No, nobody there. Rodri!
Champions League. Manchester City have done the treble.
We are back. The Far East tour begins.
Let's go to work.
The new signings, the new shirts. Premier League is back. The champions pick up where they left off.
Manchester City have won the UEFA Super Cup.
Top. The opening weekend of the 2023-24 WSL season.
What a strike and what a goal!
A Manchester derby is never just any old 90 minutes.
United 0, City 3. Manchester is blue.
Everybody at Manchester City, we are very proud.
What a game!
Yeah! The quickest 50 in the history of the Premier League.
Ellie, to Bell, to Salavi. It is 7.
Lovely end to the calendar year. Second now, 3 points off top spot.
The best team in the land and all the world.
Manchester City win the Club World Cup. The big 5 trophies in the same year.
What a year! What a team! What a club!
The world champions are back at the Etihad for our final game of 2023 as we face Sheffield United in a 3 o'clock kickoff. We've got team news to come, but I can reveal some very, very special team news in the Matchday Live squad. You will see in a moment a certain midfielder coming onto your screens who I can reveal is in today's Matchday squad. We play Sheffield United in a 3 o'clock kickoff as champions of England, champions of Europe, and now champions of the world. And here he comes, the man himself, Kevin De Bruyne, is back in the Matchday squad for the game against Sheffield United. And just wait until you see the guests in the studio. But for now, we see young Micah Hamilton. Great to see him involved. Julian Alvarez, and of course, former Blade, Kyle Walker, making his way in. And Calvin Phillips as well. Welcome to Matchday Live. I am FG, and as you can see, we are joined by football royalty in today's studio. We are joined by Matchday Live regular Michael Brown and Neil Warnock, making his Matchday Live debut. Neil, welcome to the Etihad. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you feeling about the game today?
Okay, I'll just say it's just I've been all around outside and everything, and it's because I never see anything like that. I mean, you know, in all my lifetime, 40 odd years, all I see is getting off the bus and going into the dressing room. You know, so it's nice to have a look around. Facilities are unbelievable, aren't they? Really, I mean, everybody's so lucky around here. Not just here, but around the area. I remember what a dump it was. You know, many years ago. And the work that's gone on around the ground is unbelievable. So all credit to him.
Well, it is actually the best dump in the land and all the world now. And we also sat next to a man who you know a lot about, Michael Brown. Are we going to have some secrets told by you today about Brownie?
No, not really. I mean, well, he wouldn't be there if it weren't for me. I mean, you know, let's get that thing straight away. That, you know, but no, he was part of a squad. A mixture of all characters that come together that got us promotion, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and he was the little bit of naughty one. He was my favourite.
He was your favourite Brownie. You're going to be on your best behaviour in the Matchday Live studio today with your boss.
I've got no choice, I'll get fined again, won't I?
Well, there'll be no fines whatsoever, but there will be a lot of fun. And of course, the all-important team news. We're going to head down to Pitside where Alistair Mann is there with Andy Morrison.
Yeah, thanks, FG. Welcome to Pitchside. I feel as I'm doing your role today, FG, but I can see you're much more busy upstairs at the moment. Let's give you that all-important team news. The City lineup today just been handed to me. Edison in goal, Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake, Mateo Kovacic comes in, Jack Grealish, Rodri, Julian Alvarez, Bernardo Silva, Joško Gvardiol also comes in, Manuel Akanji and Phil Foden. But strangely, the big news is on the bench. Stefan Ortega, Ruben Diaz, Calvin Phillips, Sergio Gomez, Matheus Nunes, Oscar Bob, Rico Lewis, Micah Hamilton and KDB. Well, Pep Guardiola said he was the closest of the injured players to being fit. Looks as though he might get a cameo. Former City captain Andy Morrison is again with me on commentary duty. Andy, we've got to start with the man on the bench. How much does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think you can see it on my face. You know, listen, he's the best in the world at the qualities that he has, you know, and picking the lock in the final moment, seeing the pass, he's the best in the world. And we certainly missed him. You know, we've more than held our own. We're sitting in a really strong position, but when you've got a player of that quality coming back in, I think it's going to lift this whole stadium. And the first time he gets up and warmed up, you know, and I hope we're in a position to bring him on, and the reception that you'll see, I think will echo just exactly what this club feels about Kevin De Bruyne.
Pep alluded to it yesterday by saying you've got to be careful with an injury as significant as that. As a manager yourself, what kind of things have you got to be careful of? What have you got to be wary of? How are you going to have to play it with a player coming back?
Well, listen, he's going to be training at high intensity every day. You know, whether it's keep ball sessions, small sided games, finishing drills, it's going to be full on. So, you know, I think that the injury will be clear. But you know, you've got to be mindful of the period of time he's been out. But no, listen, if he's on the bench, he's ready. He's ready to come on. Like I'd love to see him start the game, but no, he'll be fine, and I'm sure they'll get an opportunity. You know, on a day like today, it'll be a great occasion for us to see him back.
Let's just go back briefly to Wednesday night at Goodison Park, the first game after the World Club Cup. Goodison Park, never an easy place to go. Everton playing outstanding football at the moment. How big a win was that?
Massive. massive win. We spoke about this in the commentary, and for me, before the game, I said to you, and I don't know whether you were like as convinced as me, I thought it's as tough a game as Manchester City could have played at that time of year with the form they're in. They just lost to Tottenham, so their focus is going to be huge. They dominated large periods of the game against Tottenham, who are a possession-based team, so I knew how difficult it was going to be and how hard it is at Goodison Park. The result is phenomenal. To go 1-0 down again, the character they showed, but when they raise the bar and they play at the intensity that got them back in front, 2-1 up, you can't stop them. They're that good. It's all about their finishing then, because they will create 6, 7, 8 chances. You've got to take 2 of them. Second half, we were very, very good.
What do you anticipate that City have got to do and will be up against today against Sheffield United?
It's got to be intensity, it's got to be fast, it's got to be rapid. They've got to keep asking questions of them, because it will be a deep block. It'll be 5-4-1 or 5-3-2, maybe even 5-5 at times out of possession. So really, really important that we start fast, that we keep asking the questions of them and do not relent, and they will crumble.
Just before we leave this particular section of the interview, I'm curious to know what will be your big moment of 2023 as we come to the end of this quite extraordinary calendar year.
I think it has to be that final few moments me and you spent, in Istanbul when we won the Champions League, and, I watched a man who I've worked with for a long time, and there was genuine tears in your eyes, not just tears, they were flowing down your face. And that was a special moment for me, where the club has came from, from my time at the club to where we are now, and to see the fans and see the way, just the whole emotion, and for everybody that's involved with this football club on that night was so special.
Well, I just want to leave one thought with you, and that is that our guest today is Neil Warnock. Now, he was briefly in charge of you at Sheffield United when you were on loan. What do you want to ask the gaffer?
I've only just been asked to ask the question, and I think from a manager's point of view, it would be how he's kept his enthusiasm and his drive and his desire for so long, and still have the passion and the drive. And what I always say when people ask me how was your time with Neil Warnock, I always say it was fantastic, because he was so real. The man is real. Everything that he's showing, like you can't pay lip service and you can't act for that long, and he was exceptional, and I wanted to play for him, I wanted to do well for him, and I think that's the quality of a good manager. So how has he maintained that?
Well, there's the question, FG. I think you know where you're going next. Back to you.
I absolutely do. Thank you so much to Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison. Well, over to you then, Neil. A question.
I just think it's when you're... Like last night, I did a programme last night with Jamie Mackey, Tommy Smith, Clinton Morrison, 3 lads that I managed, and Lee Hendry, who I nearly managed. I said to him he wasn't quite good enough, but then I've got Brownie today, and the reason I think I keep my enthusiasm is because I love developing a dressing room. I love getting... If you look at my promotions, none of them were ever the best side in the league, not by a million miles, but we had something special in that dressing room. I've got goose pimples now talking about it, and that's what keeps me going. The dressing room, making people laugh, but also seeing people go through brick walls, dying for 3 points. Things like... that's what I miss. I miss the banter when I'm not doing it. But I love, like coming here today, I said to Michael, I'll come to a game and everything, and I've really enjoyed it. So I see Big Morrison, what a player he was, dear me. And you'd have him in, I always say, who would you have in trenches with you? Chris Morgan at Sheffield United was there, he's one of the lads assigned. But Morrison lives down where I am, down near Plymouth. And, I just think that togetherness is what you've got to get. And, like here, I know they do well, and I know Pep's a top manager. But, it's all right spending this, that and the other on players. You've still got to get the best out of them. He gets the best out of them, and nobody can deny. And, it's not... Everybody thinks it's a piece of cake because you pay 100 million. It ain't that. It ain't like that, football. And so, I've got nothing but admiration. My favourite team, really, the best team I've played against was... But my favourite player ever is David Silva.
Yeah.
And I just love him, and I've always loved him. His simplicity, played with a smile, a spring. I just love watching him, and now they've just carried on. And I think, with the injuries they've had, now they're coming back and they're getting stronger, you know, and they're still my tips, you know. So I'm looking forward to the second half of the season, mate.
Well, we are absolutely looking forward to that. We're looking forward to having you in the studio. We're going to get loads of great insight. Let's have a look at the City team then, what we've just seen. Alisson, man, is there anyone that stands out? Of course, Kevin De Bruyne is back on the bench, Brownie. We're absolutely delighted to see that. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you're always interested, aren't you? Who's going to make Pep's side? What formation that he's going to pick? Obviously, no Haaland, Alvarez leading that line. Is it going to be Phil Foden inside? Is it going to be Bernardo? Who's going to do that one out on the right-hand side? And even that, you're guessing, aren't you? The centre-back position, Ake, Guardiola. We've seen Guardiola being out on the left-hand side. Will he change it slightly? So there's many options. I think I don't think they have to look too much into Sheffield United. Sheffield United are going to try and block it out, going to try and defend, get behind the ball, try and counter wherever possible. But listen, it's a wonderful array of talent. It's great to see as well, if you look at the squad, how many City players are missing, that they've got so many youngsters, again, just developing down the line. And a one certain person, Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
That's still going, isn't it? Youngsters, like everybody thinks.
I mean, I've got to say,
do you realise that from coming into this now, where you see in that squad that it's not that deep, because lots of other people around the world think that City, have got tons and tons of players, tons of choice, but there's lots of youngsters.
But the youngsters, they've got a quality, aren't they? I mean, when I look at Pep, and everybody says about money, you know, I've got to say, I never thought Nathan Ake would be the player he is. I think Pep's made him that. I never thought he was that good. I didn't, honestly. I'll tell you the truth. Yeah. But when I watch him now, I think he's like a Rolls Royce. I love him now. So, you know, so Pep's done that in him, shown him the confidence, and he's responded like that. So, you know, that's just one example, you know. But
you've led him into that, haven't you? Making the ones not so good into better players. That's the one, is it? He's taught that. He's taught Pep that.
He's learnt that from Neil. I'm sure we're going to learn plenty from you. Let's talk about Phil Foden. In particular, the performance at the Everton game. We can see in a second his goal from the Everton game. A sensational player. Shades of the Dortmund game in the Champions League, Brownie.
Do you know what?
That goal.
Do you know what? He's getting, obviously, more minutes. He's getting a freedom. He's getting an understanding now of what's expected. You know as well, the other side of the game, the tactical side, what Pep wants, and he also goes and questions that, demands it from his players. The technical stuff, nobody's like that. He's sensational what he can do, whether it's on a wide area, whether he comes inside. I think the only thing that was disappointed was with his interview afterwards. I think that was what Phil Foden said from the other night. he grabbed him and he started.
Listen, Phil Foden wanted an FC24 Team of the Week item, so EA, if you're listening, it's still time to give it him. We've also got the pleasure of watching him today. He must be a manager's dream, that a player like that, Neil, like Phil Foden, who's so versatile, as Brownie said.
I just like the way Pep dealt with him to start with, you know, kept him built him up. You know, he's a young lad and he'll have been dying to play. They just kept his level headed. And I mean, the goal you've just seen now, he's no right to shoot from there. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, who would shoot from there? You know, so I look at him now, and I think we're very, very lucky at the moment in England. When I look at him and what's the Real Madrid lad called?
Bellingham.
Yeah,
he's not bad either.
Oh my God, I think when I look at England now, if we can't win anything now, we're never going to win, are we? When you look at players like that, Harry Kane.
Did you ever speak to Pep about youngsters, like, because Phil Foden would have been one of those that every club would have wanted? Did you have conversations with youngsters when you were manager?
I think because of the way my teams were always hard-working and grafting and all that lot, I think when you look at people at the top end, they always had better opportunities than the clubs I were at, you know, to go and play football and have an easy time.
A different style, maybe?
Yeah. And have an easier time growing up, sort of thing. Whereas me, you had to come in straight away making tackles.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, they play that, you know, so quick now that you hardly see a tackle now, do you? But hey, Kyle Walker, I mean, you know, I took him at QPR when he'd been bombed out, really, by Harry at Tottenham. And the first half of the season, I think I give him the confidence to go on and believe in himself. And when Daniel Levy stitched me up for the second half of the season because we wouldn't pay enough money for his loan, you know, but he's went on, and I mean, I look at him now and he's an absolute, you know, I think he's head and shoulders, you know, now as good as anything I've seen in that position now, defensive wise as well now. I don't think he's a bad defender as well now.
So that was a question mark defensively when you seen him. He had to learn that. So he was quick, he would get forward, but that...
It wasn't really, he didn't take responsibility defending because he was that good going forward. You sort of let him do that and take away. But as you get higher, you've got to do it. I would trust him now against anybody. If you said, and
one-on-one is a joke now. He's a joke.
Absolutely.
Literally ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to top Champions League games.
But he just got off the bus then, and I were on the wrong side. He never said hello to me.
Oh right, okay. Well,
so
well,
we're going to have a chat.
We know that Kyle absolutely loves you. Did you see Kyle having the career that he's gone on to have in his early stages with you as well?
No. I mean, you don't see. I didn't think he would become the best in the country, which he is by a mile now. And I didn't see that, but his attitude was good. He has little slips here and there, but he fitted in well with my kind of lads that I like, because he was a little rogue, a bit like Brownie. And I seem to attract people like that. Are you with me? Sometimes other clubs were probably a bit wary of taking these players, but I was never like that. I thought it was a challenge to take players like that and make little, turn them into good uns. But Kyle was like that. He was a dream at QPR.
I've got to say that the one thing that we did have, the dressing rooms were, honestly, you're racing in to get there. That's what you created, wasn't it? Yeah. That laughing, that enjoyment, and even on the training ground, he knows when to be serious, but most of the time...
But they knew when I was going to be...
Most of the time you'd let it go, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, when it was raining, I used to go out with my brolly. Brownie, come under here while I talk. Come and stand under here while and do you want a piece of chewing gum, Brownie? And all that lot, and old Morgan and all that. We used to be spitting, and all that lot. But I just think the dressing room is the area that whenever I do retire fully, I will miss that, because when you build that, like Brownie says, you could have a reunion in 5, 10, 20 years. They'll all get together and they'll be exactly the same. And that's what gives me the pride. Are you with me? Because I love looking at my lads from different eras. And
I think that's been really good here at City. That Pep maybe has changed his mentality from when he first come to the football club, and he's continued to give them a little bit of slack, let them have a day off, let them have fun at times, and that they all get on. It's important, isn't it? It's a long season, as we keep saying, so many games.
It is, and I get criticised, and we're talking about younger managers and things like that, but sometimes... I mean, you had plenty of time off with me, didn't you? I used to give them 2 or 3 days. They used to say, can we have a day off, Gaffer? I said, no, you'll have 3 off.
Who was the player in the dressing room? Was Brownie the one that would ask you for the days off? Because we know that Bernardo Silva's the man to ask Pep. Who would be the player that would get the days off?
No, well, I had a lot of young lads as well. Jagielka, Montgomery and Tongi. They wouldn't say boo to a goose, any of them. So Brownie was a little bit of a rogue.
You might take that back. Jagielka's got something to say to you later, so
he's
not said much.
Yeah, but he is 40 now.
Yeah,
it took all that time to say something about me, hasn't it? But no, they were just a great bunch, weren't they? And I'm glad, and that's when you get success like that. It's a fabulous atmosphere. And this dressing room here, I think, like you've just said, I think he's changed over the years, Pep. I think when he first came, he might have been a lot stricter and that. But, sometimes giving a team 1 or 2 days off is better than training them. I've seen people say they're not fit enough. I'm going to have them in morning, afternoon and night and all that lot. And, for me, it's a wrong way around it.
We're going to have a really, really fun show today, aren't we? But by the way, everybody who is watching the show, just a quick one before we give you the Sheffield United team news. It's your chance to ask the questions. We've got a WhatsApp number available for you guys to ask Brownie or Neil Warnock, whatever you like, and we will answer it as best as we can. The number is on the screen for you. But let's get the away team news for Sheffield United this afternoon. In goal is Fotheringham, and then it is Bogle, then it is Baldock, Trusty, Robinson the captain, Thomas, Norwood, Souza, Slimani, Asula and Brooks. The substitutes are on the screen. Neil, looking at the Sheffield United team, any thoughts on the way they're going to approach the game?
Well, listen, you can only come here and get organised and defend well. I can't see him having a go. Because you can't do it with City. But I'm surprised McBurney's not playing. I think he did really well last week. Yeah. And I think he gives him a focal point there. So I suppose he's just keeping him up his sleeve, really.
Of course, one man who is ineligible today is Manchester City's James McAtee, Brownie. He seems to have really come into his own a little bit more, and he's a special player as well, isn't he, Brownie?
He's a brilliant player. We were wondering where he was going to end up this season. So he enjoyed his time at Bramall Lane last year, and so he's got the talent, he's got the ability. Now he's just got to learn the game. We discussed it about Phil Foden. He took his time, and then he's getting better and better. He's the next one. Can he go on and do it?
Scored a great goal, Brownie.
Wonderful goal, yeah. Wonderful goal.
Dear.
And he's got that, and it was a late decision. Went back to obviously to Sheffield United, where he knows well. He's not one to talk too much. With Matchday Live, we went to talk to him, didn't we? And he didn't want to do much of an interview. But
he was intimidated by you, wasn't he?
No, I don't know about that. But do you know what he is? He just wants to play football. He wants to play in the right way, get in some great positions. And it was a good grounding for him, I felt, last season in the Championship, to learn a different style rather than having the ball right throughout his career.
When I spoke to Paul Heckingbottom, he said he was just an absolute gem of a lad. And there were a couple of them on loan last year, and he just said that it was just a pleasure to work with him. And he said he's going to go to the very top.
Well, we absolutely hope so. He actually started off slightly slowly in the Championship, didn't he, Neil? And then, like you said, he came into it in the second half.
Don't mention one of the games, because if you do, where he had a bad game, he doesn't like it.
Oh, no, I won't be saying that.
So that slow start, don't ever say it to him, or he'll come for you.
That's a good mentality to have, though, isn't it, Neil, for a player to not be able to not want to hear that and always hear about. I mean, the goal he scored the other day was absolutely fantastic.
Well, I think so. I mean, it'll be a massive test for him today. Let's be honest. But I mean, you come into the game of football at any age, you want to play at places like this, don't you, Brownie? When you come into the stadium and you look at the stadium, you look at the world champions, and you've got a chance of playing against them. Yeah,
is it sort of like you treat this like a cup tie? I mean, of course, the last game that they had against Luton wasn't the best result for them, but as a player...
The scoreline didn't tell the story in that day. There was freak incidents that went against them, so they maybe should have come away with a result. But what they have to do is they have to just keep performance, set a standard, and then he can take something from this. What can they take from it today?
If they lost 1 or 2-0 today, I don't think they'll be disappointed.
I remember speaking to one manager, and they said that people say, "Why don't you come and have a go?" You've stood there so many times. Tell us why. Why can't you? What is it? What's the knock-on effect? If you come and say, "Right, we're going to be brave." What is
I listened to the commentators, Brownie, and they all said this. I wonder, they've defended and they've lost, so why didn't they come and have a go? I remember at Cardiff, right? So we're playing Man City, and I'm stood on the touchline, 25 minutes. Have I told you the story, haven't I? Have I not? No. Right, 25 minutes I'm on the touchline and we're 0-0. And I'm thinking, we're playing well here, Cardiff, right? And we're going at half-time 3-0 down.
Yeah.
And Bernardo Silva scores a third goal. It's an absolute brilliant. And I'm on the touchline and I'm going, what a goal that is. And I'm the manager. And Bernard Silva's just scored the third goal against me in 15 minutes. Oh, my God. And, we had a go. You can't have a go. You've just got to... you've got to accept that you haven't got players like theirs. So you've got to do the best. But you can come up, you can make it difficult for them, but you've got to have an outlet. You can't just defend. They're too good.
I tell you what is funny. When we're in these situations, when we've been at Sheffield United, for instance, coming to a Man City, and obviously you're going to play against a top side, or when we were cup competitions away at Liverpool, I remember, and we'd be stood analysing the team. Gaff would be there, literally talking about what we expect today, and he'd say, "Oh my God, these are brilliant. Good luck, lads. I wish you all the best," because I don't know how to tell you how to stop them because they're that good.
Hey,
but we'd just be laughing, we'd enjoy it, we'd relax a little bit, and you'd get a better performance rather than make it tense.
We had 2 semi-finals that year in the Cups, Liverpool and Arsenal, and we should have won them both. We got bloody... You know what my favourite people are? Bloody referees. Graham Poll. He was Arsenal's best midfield player that day, wasn't he? And Liverpool, the goalie should have got sent off. If he'd been our goalie, outside the box handling, he would have gone. That'd have been Paddy Kenny. So, we got no rub of the green.
Well, we will also be talking about the referee decisions, hopefully not at half-time, at full-time with our analysis. Also, a little stat for you guys. Sheffield United have never beaten Manchester City in the Premier League. Do stats like that matter going into games like this? I mean, it's in the back of your mind. You've got, like you said, it's a difficult task as it is, but as players, you don't look at stuff like that.
I don't think that they're going to look at that stat. They'll realise the job that they've got anyway. They'll be coming thinking, in some ways, can we imagine if we could get a draw? Can we get a clean sheet? Can we stop them scoring? You know, can we take a positive? I think that's the main thing. What you don't want to come here when you're in the position they are is get done 5, 6 and demoralised, and then it causes lots of problems.
I think when you look at, you look at West Ham against Arsenal.
Yeah.
And West Ham, I don't know how many percent, but they were miles, they didn't have much possession. But they were so organised. Every one of them knew what they were doing. They were an outlet with a bit of pace. And that's what you got to do. Today's not going to be where Sheffield United finish in the table. This is going to have no bearing whatsoever. So, if they could get a decent result and get on with the next one, that, a little bit...
This team went to Villa only a couple of weeks ago and obviously stopped them going top of the league.
Brilliant.
So we have to respect them. I think that's where Pep is very, very good.
I do.
That respect in detail.
I don't think that came up straight away. I think over the first few years, I think the lesser teams you struggled against as much, but I think the last few years you've got that way of doing it now, and you win the horrible games really now, and quite rightly so.
Do you think that's Pep's learning that as well?
Yeah.
Because he would never agree with the different style maybe because he's never seen how to get a result in English football. But now I think he still gives credit for that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like you say, I think he's changed. But I think the hardest thing at the top of the league is to make sure you win them games down against the bottom teams. And today, I'll be very surprised if they don't.
Well, let's head down to pitch side to hear from Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison on their thoughts of the Sheffield United team.
Thanks, FG. Yes, you've been discussing the Sheffield United lineup. 4 changes from the side which lost at home to Luton Town on Boxing Day. Andy, changes they had to make. 2 suspended for a start. McAtee can't play against his parent club. The other change, though, is a choice. They've gone with Osula over McBurney and, I suppose you could argue, Archer as well. Why do you think they've done that?
Well, I can see why McBurney might come out, because they're going to need legs in the team. Listen, whether they're going to be playing with a front man, a 9, I'm not sure. Or where his role will be, or where he'll start his press. It'll probably be 15 yards outside our box. So maybe more legs, being able to better the turnover of possession, where McBurney might be a target from deeper areas. There is no area, there's nowhere space behind, because City will pin them in so deep. It's going to be very hard to get McBurney down the side, so I'm guessing he's got a bit more pace about him, probably better in possession of the ball, and maybe will run more than what McBurney would.
It's interesting, and Pep said it yesterday in his press conference. City Boys had problems beating Sheffield United. You may recall the game at Bramall Lane was only won in the last few moments. What is it about this Sheffield United team? Obviously, that was with Heckingbottom, this with, of course, Chris Wilder. What is it about them that has been difficult for City?
Well, I think that time of the season was early on, and after promotion, one of their first home games, it was always going to be very, very difficult. Although City still should have won that game. They were wasteful. I can remember the reaction from Haaland when he scored. It was total relief. He didn't celebrate. It was just a puff of the cheeks to sort of say, how long was it going to take? And I think it's a different team now, and obviously 4 changes. I think this could be, and you know me, I'm a pessimist. I think this could be a really, really tough afternoon for Sheffield United. I really do, if we're clinical. Because we will create 12 to 15 opportunities to score today, Ali. And if we take 6 or 7 of them, then it's going to be a painful day for Sheffield United. And if we're wasteful, it'll go into the latter stages. But I've just got a good feeling at the minute. There's an energy that's been growing now for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, and I think today it could be a tough day.
Chris Wilder's come back. Obviously, he did amazing things with them first time around. What do you admire about what he brings as a manager?
Well, I think that the previous manager, is very unfortunate. I think if you're a championship manager now and you get promoted, I think there's a fair chance you're gone before Christmas, because that's the nature of football nowadays. So, he'll be disappointed, but Chris Wilder's got a rapport with Sheffield United that goes back over a long period of time. He's loved by the club, and the fans, so that's a great start. If you're releasing a manager, you're bringing somebody in who's very popular, and he's got old school values, new ideas, but real strong old school values that Neil Warnock would respect, and and that's what he'll bring: organisation, discipline, and a fresh face sometimes makes a big difference.
You were at Sheffield United briefly, as we mentioned earlier. What are your sort of reflections on Sheffield United as a club?
Yeah, I went for a month, and then went into the second month, and I ended up getting injured, and that was the end of my career around that period. And but a fabulous football club, with great people. I was down the road at Huddersfield, and it's quite a dour area, a Scottish word, and but great people who love their football and are so passionate about football. And I thoroughly enjoyed that time, especially with Neil. I was very lucky to work with him to get an idea of how somebody like him works.
Just one final question that I always have to ask you. Prediction.
6-1.
My goodness. 6-1.
Yeah, 6-1.
I've been doing this with you for a long time. You've never gone 6 before. 6-1, says Andy. Goodness me. Will he be right? If so, that's a little bit of a prediction. Well, I think the biggest prediction I think he's ever come across. Normally, you're a very pessimistic 3-1 kind of man. Back to you, FG.
Thank you very, very much. Thoughts on Andy's 6-1 prediction for today's game, gents? He's normally quite reserved in his predictions, Andy Morrison.
I think since Chris Wilder's come in, there's probably been a different reaction, so I don't think they'll get beat 6-1.
I don't think they were there. I think they've given teams a good game all season. They just had, I think there were a lot of things going off behind the scenes which didn't help, with the manager. Because I thought Paul Eckenborn did a fantastic job, losing the best 3 players in the summer. Bergen and 2 of the others, the top players, and to do what he's done, I think was incredible. And I think he's been very unlucky to lose his job, if I'm honest. But we're not going to that.
We won't, Eddie, but we will go into your career, Neil. Okay, we're going to talk about your career now. This is the fun part of Matchday Live. But I mean, Matchday Live regulars will know we had a former player of yours on a previous Matchday Live, and he had a little message for you.
Yeah, good memories for both, with Michael and obviously the gaffer. But yeah, so I'm not surprised Brownie's brought his dad in for the game. But no, what a great guy. Gave me a chance in football. I'll be forever thankful, and I'm sure he'll have many stories to tell you. And I'm sure Brownie will probably talk you through all the goals he scored at Sheffield as well.
There you go. Phil Jagielka, what a fantastic player.
It was. I mean, to be fair, when we had him and Nick Montgomery and Michael Tong all coming through from the juniors, and when I went in, they were really struggling, and I didn't have anything to lose really, and I shoved them all in. And they said about Jaggy, not quick enough, and he was a right back. He was never going to be a right back, and I put him into centre half, and really never looked back. Really, England, and did he get England B?
What?
Did he play?
Tons of England caps.
Because he gave me one of his shirts, which I remember. I saw it in the loft a few weeks ago. I've got one of yours in all, Brownie. I'll have to do it for charity and get rid of them. As soon as I've gone, my missus will get rid of them all. So I might as well get rid of them now, haven't I, really?
You may as well. Look, 283 appearances Phil Jagielka had for you. And now, gents, it's time for a game of higher or lower. OK, we're going to do player appearances under you, Neil Warnock, so under you. Do you think Paddy Kenny is higher or lower than 283 appearances?
Higher.
Higher. Brownie, what are we going with?
Higher.
Higher, right, OK. Let's reveal whether it is higher. It is higher. 343 appearances for Paddy Kenny.
He's handsome. Who's the next one?
Well,
don't forget, he had a few more clubs with me after that.
Well,
he did about 1,000.
Paddy had three clubs.
Right, OK, so next is, Matchday Live's very own Michael Brown. Brownie, you should know the exact amount of appearances you've had under Neil.
Under Neil?
Yeah.
Oh, 150.
150, Neil?
More than that.
Yeah, do you think it's going to be lower than 343, of course, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's reveal how many appearances. 209, you missed out. 59
and he let me
games.
Down. He let me down when he went.
That was the
I didn't want him to go.
Yeah.
He let me down. Oh, wow.
I didn't want him to go. I made him a millionaire.
Oh, wow. I let him down. He still said, we can't go into this. I missed a penalty once. He thinks I did it.
But he scored against Sheffield Wednesday. An absolute belter.
We've all
which
seen
I'll
the clip.
never forget.
It was
you must have it, surely.
Well, Brownie actually shows us.
Darryl, I won't have a go at you. If you can find it in the gallery, please. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. We will have a look in the gallery.
There's a couple of goals, if you look, for Sheffield United.
Yeah, fantastic strike, that, actually. That's why you're so loved in those parts as well. Right, next up, do you recognise that man?
Paul Peskis. I says Pesky Solido, and you say...
Pesky Solido.
You know what? And that's the reason I asked whether they recognise him, because I wasn't going to have a go at that. Do you think that's higher or lower? Do you think he's higher or lower than Brownie?
Pesky. Lower.
Lower, Brownie, what are we going with?
Lower.
Lower. So far we're doing well, and it is lower. 100 appearances. Straight away, a nice little round number that. Was it just a case of him stopping after the 100, Neil?
I think that was a good one, that, to get.
I'm already thinking about Stuart McCall, next one now. I'm already moved on, me. Higher or lower? That's a toss-up, that, isn't it, really?
And no, have you ever seen the famous clip of Stuart McCall celebrating on the promotion when he's on a car?
I have
if anyone's not seen that, just search Stuart McCall on the car and then let us have a little message later and tell us what you think.
I spoke to him.
Special moment.
I sent a message to him yesterday that I was doing the game and all that. He's up in Scotland, and but what a gem of a lad he was. Dearie me, you know, a super lad. Good player as well, wasn't he, Brownie?
Really good.
And it was good for the young lads to see somebody like that did everything simple. But higher or lower than 100?
Higher or lower? What are we going with, gents?
Probably lower.
Lower.
We're going to go with lower. Let's see. But it was lower. 89 appearances. Jose Font is next. Higher or lower? I mean, 89 is
lower.
I don't know, but he played for you at Palace.
Yeah, I didn't know he played for me at Sheffield United. Don't forget, I've got not a good memory now at my age. Well, that'll be. I'd say lower.
Are we saying lower, Brownie?
Lower.
Let's have a look and see how many it is.
Oh, wow.
Well, actually, the graphic, that's Daryl's fault in the studio, isn't it? That's wrong, that's wrong, but it is actually
Jose Fonte, is it?
It is Jose Fonte.
It doesn't even look like
89,
him.
and 90 is actually higher than 89, so we'll speak that. Let's move on to Scotty Sinclair, shall we?
Scott Sinclair on
higher or lower than 90
Where did you have Scott
appearances?
Sinclair? What club?
I took him at QPR.
Was it QPR, was it?
Yeah.
Scotty Sinclair. Do you think he's higher or lower than 90?
It's got to be lower.
Going with lower?
He's not played that many times, has he?
Yeah, lower. Go on.
We're going to try lower for that one. It is lower. 8 appearances.
Hey, only for 8 for Sheffield?
No, any club.
Oh, any
Okay,
club.
next up is a man who said it was a pleasure to work with you.
Andy Morrison.
Andy Morrison.
Oh, this is tight. I know
It's got to be. It's got to be lower.
I know, it's tight. It's so tight.
I wouldn't have had him any more than 8, would I?
Well,
I tell you what, you want him in trenches with him.
Let's see how many appearances Andy made. Well,
Yeah.
4 appearances.
Wow.
Well then.
Was 4 enough? Did you?
Yeah, no, I think it was just coming to the end, you know, like they got coming to the end then. But he, like I say, attitude-wise, oh, dear me, you wanted him around you. And
I didn't like always playing in front of him because I knew I was going to get told off if I left that space.
Next up is a man who's made tons of appearances.
I think it could be lower this. What do you think?
I mean, I don't think he is low. If he is, I'm just going to walk out the studio because this game will be a tough one. We're going to go higher with Billy, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on and reveal.
2.
2?
We can't have played many things for me, can he?
No. You did.
I got rid of him, and I think he went to Scunthorpe or somewhere like that, right? And then they brought him back a couple of years later. And I remember at Middlesbrough, we played him at Middlesbrough, when I was up at Middlesbrough, and I went on the pitch after, and I just said to, can I just say to you, Billy, I never thought in my wildest dream you'd be as good as you have been. Well done to you. Good credit to you. What a good pro he is, and good finisher.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant servant, and he's living the high life now, isn't he?
He'll be happy with this picture, Curly.
Keith Curl.
He still looks the same, still comes in here. He does loads of these.
He does.
Curly did. I think Curly did quite a lot for me. I'm just trying to think how many.
I'm pretty sure it was more than 2, though, right?
He did a couple of. I would say about 50, 60, me.
Let's reveal the number then for Curly. 61, and then finally Adel Tarapt, a player that the streets won't forget. He was absolutely brilliant.
Well, I come at the end of the season, Brownie, and I think we had about 14 games left, and then we must have played 46. No, 40. Was it 42? 42, 52, 60. Be about 55.
Let's have a look. So 72 appearances.
Is that including cups then, isn't it?
I imagine so. It's under you, yeah.
I didn't know. I thought I only did league.
Well, you actually did quite well on that game, so well done, gents. You guys are watching at home. Please do get involved with the discussion. Remember to send us your WhatsApp questions for Neil and Brownie in the studio. Anything you'd like to ask, we will try and answer it for you. The number will be on the screen for you. You can also head to the Man City app for live commentary from Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison, and you can sign up for City Plus for exclusive daily Man City content. Now it is time to talk about our guest in today's studio, making his Matchday Live debut, Neil Warnock. 11 clubs played for, 16 clubs managed, 1,890 games managed, 760 wins, 2 league titles, which is the conference with Scarborough and the conference with QPR, 3 Premier League promotions, 4 playoff final wins, about 100 viral clips and loads of memories. Let's talk about your career and any high points to start with.
I just think, you know, like, as I said to you earlier, I never had the best team ever, you know, and that's what I used to... My career was built on, not revenge, but I always wanted to prove people wrong. As a player, I got free transfers from clubs, and I wanted to go somewhere else to do better than to show the manager. And the same in the management, really. I wanted to do better all the time, and when I got the sack, I just wanted to prove people wrong, and I built sides that I was proud of. And I think, you know, like when I left Middlesbrough, I remember getting a phone call from Paddy McNair, and he said to me, "Gaffer, I just wanted to say thank you." He said, "Can I just tell you, Gaffer, I've never enjoyed getting out of bed so much to come training in my whole career." Now, that might not seem a lot, but to me, that's brilliant. And that's what I like about my lads. And so it would be wrong for me to pick Scarborough. We were 50-1. I used to put 50p pieces in the electrics at where I lived for us to train on a Tuesday and Thursday night. You know, so to win the league against the millionaires at Barnet was unbelievable. 2 promotions at Wembley with Notts County, you know, Huddersfield at Wembley. Oh, dearie me. It was everything. QPR was fabulous. And I even enjoyed the Plymouth, you know, the green and white armour. They still talk about going to Wembley and all the flags coming out, the buses coming down the motorway. So I couldn't pick one, really. There was one game we were talking about just a while ago, probably as good a game as I've ever been involved with. We were playing Nottingham Forest, semi-final?
Semi-final, playoff
semi-final. And we drew there. We should have won there, but we drew there. And we came back, and then they went 2-0 up. And I remember the dugout. You'd think they'd won the World Cup, the dugout opposite us. And we were looking at them, they were swanning it. You know, I thought they were going to pop champagne, bloody corks, you know, 2-0 up. And then second half, we come back, didn't we, Brownie? And we ended up extra time.
Yeah, it was the best game, honestly. It's like, do you know when you see Liverpool-Newcastle, where it's like the 4-3, it was like that type of game. But to go obviously to a playoff final was sensational.
2-0 up, and then it was
Des Walker's last game,
back
I think,
into the dugouts, didn't they? 4-3 we won. That was an incredible game, that.
How good was Brownie? I mean, he's had an incredible career himself.
He'll tell you, when I took him, right, he'd been bombed out here. It fell out with manager. He'd gone to Portsmouth. He'd been bombed out at Portsmouth. And I'd watched him. I watched him while he were down there.
We played against Sheffield United.
You played against us.
Game.
You did.
Your first game was Sheffield United match was against Portsmouth.
And we won.
And Alan Ball had got sacked at Portsmouth, so then they were waiting on a manager, so I didn't want to stay down there because it was a night.
And do you know where he played that day? Left wing.
Mr. Versatile.
I watched him that day, and I thought, and I remember saying to Mick Jones, who were with me, I like that kid on that left side. Who is it? Like, you know, where's on loan, Gaffer? I said, we're from Man City and all that lot. And he tackled, and then, of course, when I made a few inquiries, I knew that Portsmouth wouldn't be sad to see him go. So I jumped in, and he was the first rogue on the list, really, and then we gradually signed them all. And like I say, it all fitted into place. We got different players, but he blossomed there. And you talk about Foden. He was my Foden, really. He could score goals from anywhere, and he was always instrumental in. He played the simple game. I didn't have to give him many rollickings because he played it simple. And what I loved about him is, yes, he got in trouble now and then, but he'd never pull out of a tackle, and he made some tackles. Make sure, like I said about Andy Morrison, you want him in the trenches where you're in. And he fitted in great with me.
There is a YouTube compilation of your tackles as well, Brownie. I don't know if you've watched it. Anyone who's watching Matchday Live, feel free to give that one a search. Let me flip the question back. What was Neil Warnock like as a manager?
Do you know, when you listen to his career developing there, do you know, when I first went to Sheffield United, I felt that point was there to prove. He was fighting every single minute, every decision, everything, every day, do you know, to fight, to prove, to get to the top. Later on in my career, when he come to Leeds United, much more relaxed, much more realised that you've made it as a manager, yet you still want to prove, but a slightly different approach. And I just felt, I don't know if you felt like that, I felt like you got a lot sort of more comfortable. Nice shot there of Pep.
Recognition from Pep. He's been a big fan of you now as well.
Yeah, he knows. It's so funny. I saw that you're going to show a clip, aren't you, about me and talking to Pep on the bench.
Well, we absolutely are. We want to know exactly what was being said. Brilliant timing as well. What was the conversation?
Michael Oliver there as well. I think I said to him, would there be any chance of David Silva on loan? I think that were my words. And he just smiled. He didn't say no, but he just smiled. I said on £5.50 a week.
I tell you what though, you had some rows on the touchline, didn't you?
Yeah.
Honestly, we used to sit like, oh no, Gaffer's off on one. Referees, managers, players.
What about with Stuart Pearce?
Unbelievable.
On the touchline, do you have anything with him at all? Do you recognise this clip of Stuart Pearce? You've actually faced 8 of the last 9 Manchester City managers in your
Have I really?
And yet Sven-Göran Eriksson was the only one you didn't.
I was better than him as well. I thought I should have got the job then at Man City when they give it him.
Listen, it's never too late, all right? We could definitely get a rally. I mean, career-wise, is it just a case of just looking for the next step for you now?
No, listen, the last few years I've just worked from February, March and April and the first 2 weeks in May. So if something crops up then, I mean, I've been offered 2 or 3 jobs in the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks. But it's I don't want to do I mean, my wife and Sharon, we had Christmas Day at home this year, me and the kids and that, and it was brilliant, William and Amy. And we never get that, you know. Every Christmas Day, my missus kicks me out of the house, so I go in a hotel somewhere, and you just forget.
Funny stories about Sharon. Remember on the training pitch, the phone would go.
Yeah.
He'd stop. You're doing set pieces. He'd always have his phone, right? He'd have one for work and one for Sharon.
Yeah.
When that phone rang. Stop, everyone.
Just hang on.
What's happened with his brolly or with his no brolly? Hi, love. Right. Right, okay, yeah, do that. We home at 4. And he said, right, throw in. Off you go. Start again. Right in the middle of the
Not just a great manager, but
what
also...
was the story when she told you? She said someone was going to score the next day.
Hell, Danny Butterfield.
Danny Butterfield, and you made a change.
Not next day. She said, I've had a dream. I was at Palace, and I'd had a dream. She said, I had a dream that Danny Butterfield scored a hat-trick. It was right back for me. So we had a bit of an injury crisis. And in the training he was decent. He was always a little bit, you know, but he was decent in training. And I pulled him and I said, I'm going to play you up front tomorrow. And I said, are you all right with that? Yeah, I'll give it a go. I said, well, if you come off, if not, you know, don't just try your hardest for an hour. And he scored a hat-trick in about 15 minutes. And I went home and she said, told you.
I think we will get more from you at half-time. What a fantastic story to end with. It's now time for Mystery Blue. So we have a couple of clues for you. Let's start with clue number 1, shall we? This Mystery Blue has scored twice against Sheffield United in his career. You can share your answers through the WhatsApp. Any ideas, gents? The Mystery Blue was the youngest player
in his career.
Play at Wembley for the Blades. We will be revealing the answer at full time, so there's a lot for you guys to ponder. We'll also have a third clue for you at half time, so if you've got any ideas, remember to send your message in with the WhatsApp. Obviously, 2023 has been an incredible year for this football club. We are going to revisit that now. We're going to talk about 2023 and the treble, the Super Cup, and then, of course, Champions of the World. If we start with the treble, I think the most iconic moment for me, Brownie, I don't know about you, is Rodri in Istanbul.
I think it was that delay, wasn't it? We discussed it on the draw the other week when we were literally seeing who City were going to face in this year's Champions League. And it was that delay wait as he just stepped up, because he never thought it was going to happen. Because City weren't really... They played amazing in the quarter-final, semi-final, and then it was just the wait. Didn't look like it was going to happen. Is City ever going to win the Champions League? And then that ball just stopped. And as he went to approach it, you're thinking, is this it? That is the moment. And as it just comes back, it's sort of there now. He just steps forward. And everybody, didn't it, from a City perspective, in the stadium, obviously Matchday live in the box, all around, the radio, everyone just went absolutely crazy because it was finally, it come, not just the treble, the Champions League was so important.
That you can see on the screen our best bits from the Champions League campaign, Neil. It was a special campaign for Manchester City in a tournament that sometimes, you know, people have questioned Pep in it, but he got it absolutely spot on, and so did this group of players.
You look at the players that's missing, even today. You know, no Haaland, De Bruyne and people like that. I just think he's an incredible... I like him as a person as well, mate. And he's got no airs of graces. He could just be aloof, some managers, you know, but not Pep. He always wants to talk to you, and he always wants to learn. You know, I know it sounds silly, but I'm sure he picks my brains at times, you know, when we talk, because you never know enough.
What do you see from an outset? Do you know when you see the club growing and you've watched Pep come in and the club get better and better? Like, what's your thoughts when they deliver the treble? The Super Cup, except, you know, what's your...
I mean, because
you sort of go in...
Because I like him, I want him to win.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I got stitched up at the other side of the Manchester, so I want them to lose everything.
Well, you are welcome on this show whenever you want, Neil. You know that, right?
But we'll talk about that another time, eh?
We will indeed. Let's move on to the... That is a full show. We've had unbelievable insight from you. It's been fantastic. Hopefully it's not it's the first but not the last time on Matchday Live. Let's talk about the Super Cup. Cole Palmer, his final goal for City. And it sent the game to extra time. It wasn't straightforward, but again, Manchester City found a way, as we see Captain Kyle, lifting a trophy, Neil.
I know that. I mean, I was really proud when I saw that. I just feel, you know, when you feel, I know it's only a little thing that I did, but I think the contribution you make, you follow all your players, what you've had everywhere, and to see Kyle like that, and you know, like if it were playing for Stocksbridge Works tomorrow, it'd be exactly the same now.
Yeah.
That's how they are, my lads. It don't matter where they play, they're exactly the same. You get what you see.
5 penalties out of 5 in that shootout in the Super Cup, Brownie. It was a difficult evening, but it was a one where City were clinical in the shootout.
Yeah, clinical. That's what ultimately, at times when penalties come City's way, you're slightly concerned, aren't you? But who's the main penalty taker? How are you going to get through it? But again, that trophy, as you say, that what is important to the players. Kyle Walker wants to be captain, wants to be involved. There's a little group, and when you get to lift these, and only speaking to Kyle recently, since obviously the 5, he gets to lift another. These are all of them going out now. It tells you everything about the football club, about the hunger with the players, and what it means to them. You know, that is it. It's a tick box moment this season now to go and get the last one. I mean, you cannot underestimate how good it is to go and deliver all of these.
You know, penalties. I have never ever watched a penalty.
You always turn around, do you?
Absolutely, and I wouldn't have the guts to take one, so I'll never ever criticise anybody for missing one.
What a lovely job then.
That's a slight lie, to be fair, because I missed one in the playoff. Fine, 3-0 down, and it's still. You know,
to be honest,
still my fault.
That's the only one. If we'd have scored, we'd have won that game.
We'd have won 4-3.
We would.
You know, because when you're 3-0 down, you win 4-3.
And they were panicking at the time. 10 minutes into the second half. We're not going to that.
No, we won't. We'll look at that picture.
We can see the
pictures
there. The interesting thing is, I know Alec Bolton there, who's holding the Super Cup, so he's won the lottery there, the young lad there, second from the left-hand side. We completed the big 5, as you can see on the screen of the lads.
I think that's the only job you've not done around here, FG, is take the trophy out. I think we'll have to look at that.
Hey, if you want to do that, me and Brownie will definitely go for a walk with the trophy.
We'll have to get FG more. I can see some people behind the camera having a little show.
I think this Matchday Live studio is a highlight for me, being with yourself and Neil. The big 5 was completed.
Which trophy would you pick, FG?
Probably the lightest one, because I'd probably drop the heaviest one. And as you can tell, I'm not really one for the exercise. I'll leave that to Brownie and stuff. But yeah, we completed the big 5, leaving a legacy. 5 5 trophies in a calendar year. Sensational, Neil.
It'll never happen again unless they do it again this year. They can't do it, can they, this year? But they're the only team that would do it again. Yeah. I just, like I say, I've 40 odd years as a manager. They're the best team I have ever seen them. And this is like 2 years ago. I'm not saying they're the same. I just think, when David Silva and that. But look at the pictures.
It's a bit of a shame for those players, for me. Yes. I think we have to remember that they
built it up.
They built it, and they done unbelievable
I
for
agree
the club.
with you, Brown.
And I seen Fernandinho come back. Yeah. I seen him on the Champions League night. I seen him come back here only 2 weeks ago, just before Christmas. And that's one player of a certain few. It was just, they're proud of everyone, but it's a shame that
it was the foundation, wasn't it? They give them the foundation that year, Pete, I think. And now, wow. I'm looking forward to today.
What about Phil Foden? How many has he won already? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
You shouldn't have ability like that at his age. It's not fair, is it? Really?
It's definitely fair if you're a City fan. Anyway, look, it's time for our final thoughts. The atmosphere behind us is building very, very well. There'll be a minute's silence, of course, to show our respects to everyone in 2023 who we've lost. Let's get some predictions, Neil. What score do you think is going to be?
I'm not going to say anything because obviously I was born a Sheffield United fan, but I'm not a massive fan at the moment.
Rowdy?
I'd love Sheffield United to do well. Ultimately, I want them to close the gap, try and get out of the situation they're in. It's going to be a massive task. I think, if you ask Chris Wilder down there, if he could walk away, yes, he wouldn't really say it, but if he could walk away with a tight game and just losing 1-0 or so, he'd take that. But you see City being able to score a couple of goals on such an iconic day.
And as you can see, look at the banners being behind us. They'll be behind us in the shot as well. Wow, it's just where this club has come from. Sometimes you have to pinch yourself. Neil, I know you said it outside when you were on the blue carpet outside that you remember this club being in a completely different position. But they are the real deal, this group of players, aren't they? They're absolutely fantastic.
I'm just thinking when I saw all the young kids outside, fancy being born into it. Born into a club like this to start, where every week you're more or less going to win. It must be terrible.
Well, listen, it's time now to hand over.
Long may it continue. I thought you were going to say, actually.
Listen, long may it continue. I don't want to jinx anything as of yet. We'll be back at half-time, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Let's head over to our commentary team, Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison. Thank you, gents.
Thank you, FG. 2023 will be remembered as the greatest year in the history of Manchester City Football Club. A first Champions League to complete a first treble, which included a first all-Manchester FA Cup final won by the Blues at Wembley. That was followed by a first UEFA Super Cup and finally their first FIFA Club World Cup to complete the total domination of the game, both at home and abroad. Today they bring the curtain down on a quite stunning 12 months, looking to end it as they began with a victory, which, if achieved, will take the Blues above second-place Arsenal and just 2 points adrift of the leaders Liverpool as we head into 2024. Sheffield United stand in the way.